Sabrina 2000s comic, issue 84. Sabrina asks how drawing water from a well could teach her about magic. She asks why the water is as heavy as lead, and she ends up falling into the well. She tells him that she hasn't seen him use magic during the whole month that she's been doing his chores. So apparently him reading her mind isn't using magic, and he hasn't taught her magic in a month. He says that he can use magic here, and he insists that magic isn't a crutch that's to be used for everything. I hate every time that's said. Suck all the fun out of the series, why don't you? You know that if the writer had magic, she would be using it for everything. He then walks away, telling her to climb out. She tells Hilda what she had to do, and Hilda doesn't take her own niece's side because literally all she does is disappoint her and says that she just doesn't understand his methods, and tells her to give it some more time. Why can't she have even one person who's on her side? In this comic, literally everyone is against Sabrina. Charm School is run by someone from the Other Realm Council, so it's too easy for them to keep an eye on Sabrina there. And again, obviously they could keep an eye on her no matter where she is. They saw her flying a broom without a license, they saw her use spell freeze on Earth. Nowhere near Charm School. Sabrina pushes her luck by asking Hilda what the council would do if they found out she was having her trained secretly. Zelda acts as a backseat gamer to Sabrina. That's nice. She knows about video games apparently. She has been alive for a long time, so she has all the time in the world to learn about video games. She uses magic to summon Landra's letter to cheer her up. She says that Landra dropped by today and misses her. Yeah, she better. But at this point, I'm just confused by her actually having a heart now. Sabrina doesn't want an invitation to the merman's birthday party tomorrow night. An invitation that's just out of character of her at this point. Salem tries to talk her into going to the party, and Sabrina doesn't want to deal with Shinji. He tells Sabrina that she's becoming antisocial and can end up like Barth all alone. So she easily decides to go to the party. Sabrina's told by Barth that she's impatient and shouldn't use magic until she learns to work hard with her own two hands. It's discipline, and at least he admits that he likes having a servant. She says that the reason she can't use magic in this forest is that the forest is so full of magic that it smothers any attempt to use magic in the area. Again, that made no sense in the first place. You'd think a place full of magic would empower everyone there. He says that if you're affected by a weight, you're beneath it. But what if you were on top of the weight and could break off pieces of it to use for yourself? As in, what if she used the forest magic for herself? If that's even possible, why is that not as simple as casting your magic as normal? I assume usually they cast magic from within, from their magic battery. So how'd they even be able to draw magic from outside? It's not like they can get a plug and plug something into their heart to put it into the magic battery. They don't have a special artifact to make that possible. That'd be keeping it simple. He asks if she knows how to do that, and then tells her to ask the fairies, because they can use magic just fine in the forest, rather than just telling her how he's using magic just fine. Since he'd know. He tells her to catch a fairy tomorrow and bring it here. It's sweet of him to let her leave early so that she could go to her party. Why did he let her do this when he's normally a sociopath who's fine with using her? To the point where he's too lazy to just warp a fairy to him. He says that he found the letter in her backpack, so that's why he knew about the party. Because him reading her mind to find that out would be too simple. The merman still has legs, and yet Salem isn't still a human. Because the council was that powerful. He thanks Sabrina and says it's great to see her again. Sabrina recklessly admits to her friends at Charm School that she's being privately tutored. Wasn't that a secret? She was clearly told she wasn't allowed to tell anyone about that, or the government would find out. I mean, if she's being kept a close eye on, wouldn't the council hear everything that's being said around her right now? The merman says she should rejoin the resistance, and Lynch reveals that everyone at the party is involved in it. They're building an army of allies instead of warping an army to them. Sabrina's scared and paranoid of these people, because the queen helped her once. Shinji shows up with some new girlfriend who's rude to Sabrina. He gets mad at her for considering returning to the resistance just because she left before. Naturally, this makes her cry, but Shinji doesn't redeem himself and walks away, because conflict ball. And thankfully, Nara tells her she can still have a role in this. This is like if Fiona tried to rejoin the Freedom Fighters. Nara gets tons of shoes, and Sabrina doesn't want to seem too interested by asking about that girl and how he met her. If she's not impulsive, who is she anymore? She somehow asks herself why she feels so jealous. I'm surprised the writer was so stereotypical she's actually gonna hunt fairies with a net, like in Zelda or Fairly Odd Parents. But with the comic as boring and contrived as this, I really need to see something new. She climbs up a tree and gets bothered by the fairies when she was trying to politely talk to them. It's not new to have the fairies be evil in Sabrina either. They yank her hair and she falls from the tree, but magic cushions her fall. Predictably, it's not the fairies who saved her. If she can use it just because she wants to use it, what took her so long to use magic in the forest? She would have used magic in the same way she did now. In the same way she always does. She goes back to Barth and explains that all the fairies told her was to learn it herself. Why doesn't she mention that she used magic? He supposedly doesn't remember telling her to go catch a fairy that he knew would be dangerous. It'd make more sense if he was doing this to her on purpose. He tells her that some plants out back can cure scratches, instead of just pointing at her to cure scratches. Because he's a jerk. She sees frozen insects and glass eyes and wonders what he'd need it for. Obviously it's potion ingredients. Oh wait, I'm thinking of 70s Sabrina, the trustworthy comic. She loses the glass eye under the shelf and feels a draft under it. And is strong enough to push aside the entire bookshelf by herself to find a door. She must have used magic by accident again. She decides to go in because he looked through her backpack. I guess she thinks too in the moment to realize that if he can read her mind effortlessly, then he'd find out that she did this. She finds a chest with 4 Blades memorabilia. He had a scroll where he pledged to become a member of the 4 Blades and to help the Queen when she needs him. Is he about overthrowing her or not? Because he clearly isn't then. Sabrina's naturally confused. And he predictably finds her and acts mad, but he does nothing but surprise me, so why would he be as he seems now? Sabrina 2000s comic, issue 85. After he acts menacing, Barth insists that he's never seen this stuff before, but he clearly acted angry at her, so logically he'd have to be lying. Sabrina even says that his signature is on the scroll. He says he doesn't remember it. Does he not remember it because the council erased his memory? Then why would he have made it to the magic forest instead of being killed like Shinji's parents were? He says he doesn't remember what happened 12 years ago, and Sabrina tells him there's a new 4 Blades movement. She says that his memory must have been wiped, and asks if she can have the stuff if he doesn't want it. So she figures that he went crazy because of the memory spell. Why won't it just be amnesia? Wouldn't he hear her thoughts here? Also, why would Shinji's parents be killed instead of getting that same exact spell cast on them? I'm guessing it was just a villain bull of the guy that tried to erase Sabrina's memories, because he was faced with them directly, but you'd think he would also be faced with this guy directly. Sabrina's taking this stuff to her team. Hemlock appeared out of nowhere dating Shinji, but she's really put everything into the team and is a great leader. Gee, I wonder if she's here to sabotage the team. Gee, I wonder if she's a shapeshifted villain infiltrating the team. I hope it's not going for the really predictable twist. That's the problem with always writing a comic in the same way, where good things only happen to have hope spots before things come crashing down. Sabrina doesn't trust her either. Yeah, that's Healer and Sonic Underground foreshadowing. But if she's evil, I don't know why she doesn't just cast a spell to kill everyone here, or brainwash them into changing their minds about the movement. If it's because those spells are illegal, well, she's already infiltrating their team. Why wouldn't she just tell the council about it? She's the least competent traitor ever. She's not even trying. That's why it's gonna be so stupid that she is a traitor. She makes a predictable motivational speech, says that she plans to send an army after the Queen. I wonder why she's the leader and not Shinji. And out of nowhere, it's supposed to be that if the mana tree dies, the witches will. That's impossible to believe. Salem didn't die when he lost his powers. Again, the writer thinks we're idiots. The merman explains that they're recruiting old members of the original Renegade Blades who managed to escape getting their memories wiped. Apparently there weren't just 4 of them, even though Shinji made a big deal out of the fact that 4 people agreed to overthrow the queen. Some of them have fled to the mortal realm and they need to find them. How would they have gotten the chance to flee instead of just being warped to the council immediately? All of the witches are being spied on at all times, so they would have just been warped to the council. Sabrina asks what it means that the 4 blades pledged to help the queen. Hemlock says that it doesn't mean anything, and says something that doesn't make any sense. Shinji says that's an old document, so it doesn't matter what it says anymore. I'm guessing he's an idiot. Sabrina's told to go get the dead leaves from the mana tree. Gee, too bad she didn't think to bring them with her the last time. That could have saved us some wasted time. Also, is there any physical difference between the leaves of real trees and the leaves of mana trees? Couldn't she just get a dead leaf, or zap up a dead leaf from any tree? Even if she had a dead leaf from the mana tree, people could just assume that she zapped it up. That's from any tree. Also, she could have taken a picture. Why doesn't she just get told to warp to the mana tree and take a picture of it with some leaves around it that are dead? That could be accused of being a fake photo. So this is just a waste of time. They're just desperate. She hates Shinji for treating her like a pawn in his big game. And Landry doesn't believe her when she says she's not jealous. Why would she even bother saying she's not jealous? She knows she is. Sabrina's glad Harvey doesn't have to go away this summer. She can't wait to see his grandma's alpaca farm and she wants to hug them. Realistically, he says they're smelly. She wants to rent a movie and she hugs him, and he thankfully appreciates it. Sabrina says she doesn't give up on those she cares about. It's overdramatic that Amy's written to slap her and run away. She never does that. But she's been her enemy for a long time, so it's been building up for a long time. She's been out of character since the manga started, so this isn't that big a deal to me. It's not like she actually punched her, and the artist was too incompetent to draw her hand actually hitting her anyways. Sabrina says she hit her and then tells Harvey to let Amy go. I guess she meant metaphorically because she's long gone. He says that she did something wrong, but he still cares about her. Sabrina immaturely asks why he doesn't date her then. Naturally, he says that it's because she can't control her anger. She was never violent though. I doubt she'll ever do that again. He reassures Sabrina, saying stuff to make her feel better. She considers telling Harvey that she's a witch, because that's the only way the relationship will truly work, even though it's working fine right now. Obviously, she should remember that he'll be the victim of a memory spell if things go wrong, which they will, considering how this comic goes. She decides to give him a magical date because if they're really meant to be together, it'll all be fine. Never mind how likely it'd be that he'd just freak out, or try to take advantage of her. She brings him through a portal the next day, blindfolding him, and she can't believe he's here, because she somehow didn't think it was possible to bring him to the other realm. That's somehow never been done before. Even though this very continuity established that Atticus Rex went to the other realm, and that she was told about mortals going to the other realm by her magic teacher. The 70s comic took full advantage of witches, and I haven't seen a witch make a potion forever. He sees a planet with big rings and asks if he's on a movie set. I guess magic is why the gravity of these things in the sky isn't causing the gravity here to be different. You'd think that the witches here would be powerless because the planet is full of magic, because the magic force is full of magic, and that's why they can't use their powers in it. Sabrina summons her broom and holds his hand, telling him to trust her. He screams on the broom with her and asks if this is a dream. He's scared, and she tells him to open his eyes. She wonders if she's overdoing it and it's going to make him want nothing to do with her after this. In retrospect, I wish he did want nothing to do with her after this. Because it could be a lot worse. It could not bring her hopes up at all. She thinks there's no turning back now, somehow forgetting that she could make him forget anything she wanted. She tells him the truth. She can't tell him how people are witches for some reason, and just says that it just is, when she could tell him about the mana tree in this comic. She was fine with telling Gwen about a whole bunch of other things that she didn't need to tell her. And she always disagrees with Landra, so it's out of character for her to agree with her now. She isn't actually sure if she's immortal or not because she's half-witch. Wouldn't she know for sure? Wouldn't there be tons of half-witches and they could communicate? Wouldn't they have a support group? He says he always suspected there was something magical about her. I wish he listed examples of her suspiciousness and the magical events he witnessed. Otherwise, he'd have to be psychic to know this just because she doesn't tell him everything. He says it's a lot to take in, but it's amazing, and he wants to know everything about this world and her. He feels like he's a little kid again when he did believe in magic. She kissed him in the sky, and the story ends with an overly hopeful text box. I'm assuming their relationship is doomed. That's how you know this isn't a good comic. If she was smart, she'd tell Harvey she doesn't want to take advantage of her magic. And other than telling him that, how could she prevent him from getting too greedy? So this was another story about Sabrina serving as a servant for someone who does nothing to teach her magic. It was just blatant padding. She could have just used magic right away. So she wastes her time going to a party. Nothing really happens there. And then she finds out that Bartholomew used to be a Four Blades member. So then why wasn't he killed, like Gingy's parents? Because the Magic Council can warp anyone to them. And of course, it's another plot hole where you'd think Sabrina would be found out as planning against the Queen because she's being spied on. So this story was eventually about Sabrina telling Harvey she's a witch. And he reacts well to it. I actually think it would have been better if he was staying in character and was like the sitcom Harvey and just broke up with her right away. Instead of getting our hopes up that because he was written to be okay with this would be the one continuity where he would spend the rest of his life with her, happy with her being a witch. But this comic is too depressing and obsessed with hope spots to actually be trusted. You'd think it wouldn't matter if she tells him or not because she can just erase his memory of that. You'd think it wouldn't matter because she can literally do the impossible without even trying in an enchanted forest. So she would just instinctively protect Harvey if someone did try to erase his memory.